Hi everyone and welcome to our movement analysis video.
Today, we will be discussing the differences in the proficiency level between a university student in comparison to a primary school student.
They'll be performing two movements, namely the overarm throw and catching.
And today we have our very special guest to help us.
Hi, my name is Hood. I am 8 years old. I am
Studying.
studying in Kerming Primary School.
Firstly, Hood was instructed to throw the tennis ball as far as possible, and here are the results. We've categorized this movement into 3 phases, and we'll be analyzing them one at a time. Each phase has a set of criteria that can be classified as an initial, elementary, or mature stage of proficiency. If we take a look at Hood's form as he prepares to execute the overarm throw, he's gripping the tennis ball very firmly with his right hand, and his left hand is tucked in towards his torso. Moving down to his lower body, his feet are apart, with one in front of the other to maintain balance, and his hips are rotated fully. Overall, Hood has achieved a relatively mature level of proficiency for the preparatory phase of the overarm throw. Moving on to the execution phase, here we can see that Hood's right elbow is flexed, and his non-throwing arm is by his side. The ball is released as his right arm reaches its maximum point, as he rotates his body towards the direction of throw to increase the amount of force generated. With that said, Hood is very much static from the hip downwards, and there is only slight weight transfer from his back foot to his front foot. At the point of release, Hood's wrist can be clearly seen to fully flex, but as mentioned earlier, he remains very much stationary in his spot. Overall, Hood has achieved an elementary to mature stage of proficiency for the execution phase. And finally, the follow-through. After releasing the ball, Hood allows the momentum of the throw to carry his right arm all the way down, with his balance remaining unchanged and no movement of his feet as a result of the limited weight transfer as mentioned earlier. Here, Hood has achieved a more initial stage of proficiency for his follow-through. Now let's see how this compares to How Long's throw. We will attempt to explain some of these differences through the use of various relevant growth and motor development theories and concepts. In the preparatory phase, How Long clearly demonstrates a fully mature stage of proficiency, with the highlight of his stance being his non-throwing arm raised in front of his body to counter the imbalance caused by his throwing arm. This allows How Long to maintain a relatively more stable state, while still generating a huge amount of force, which is something that was absent in Hood's earlier demonstration. In the execution phase, the biggest difference is How Long's ability to transfer his weight efficiently from his back foot to his front foot, and this can be explained through the dynamic systems approach. This theory is based on the idea of spontaneous self-organization of body systems. Taking into account the fact that How Long used to play basketball during secondary school, the overarm throw is a movement that he has had many years to practice, and over this time, the neuromuscular highway responsible for this movement has become very efficient at executing it. This explains why How Long is so much more adept at coordinating multiple body systems to allow him to execute a forearm leg, rotate his torso, and transfer his weight all at the same time. Lastly, the follow-through. As a large amount of force is generated, the momentum of How Long's throwing arm takes him forward, which explains why he takes a significant stride forward to restore a stable state. From this, we can say that How Long has achieved a mature stage of proficiency for the follow-through. The next movement we will be analyzing is catching. For this segment, Hood was brought to a spot and was instructed to catch a chalk ball that was going to be thrown at him, and here are the results. For the purposes of this discussion, we've broken up this movement into the preparatory phase and the execution phase. From this first angle, we can see that Hood's attention is firmly focused on the oncoming chalk ball, and his feet are shoulder width apart, with one in front of the other for optimum balance. And from this next angle, we can see that Hood leans forward slightly as he prepares to catch the ball. All in all, we can conclude that Hood has achieved a relatively mature level of proficiency for the preparatory phase. In the execution phase, Hood makes first contact with his palms facing the ball and proceeds to scoop the ball, bringing it close to his chest. For his lower body, he adjusts his feet marginally and does demonstrate slight knee flexion to cushion the impact of the ball. Here, Hood has demonstrated an elementary stage of proficiency for the execution phase. Let's see how this compares to Hilman. This time around, we will be using the Information Processing Perspective, or IPP, to account for the differences in proficiency levels. There are 3 main stages to the IPP, which are in order: stimulus identification, response selection, and response programming. Stimulus identification takes place during the preparatory phase. Hilman's eyes are taking in visual information regarding the flight of the ball. Here, we can also see Hilman has one foot in front of the other and his posture is upright to ensure maximum vertical reach. Response selection and response programming takes place during the execution phase. As Hilman is a frisbee player, he draws on previously stored information to judge the flight of the incoming projectile, which is usually a disc but in this case is a chook ball. His brain programs 2 consecutive motor responses, which are backtracking a few steps and subsequently jumping at just the right timing so he can intercept the ball comfortably. We've come to the end of our video and we thank you all for your kind attention. This video would not have been possible without the guidance of Dr. Tommy Ng as well as Professor Teo. Thank you, sirs. We hope you've enjoyed this video, but if you haven't, we're very sure you're going to enjoy these next few clips.
3, 2, 1, go.